Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Dennis and this is The Intellectual Reads. Today I'm coming at you with another review of a book that has deeply touched me. It's Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Delia Owens is a naturalist who wrote non-fiction books dealing with nature. In her lifetime, she has written, I believe, 7 books before this one, and this being her first work of fiction. And you can totally see this when reading this book, that this person is very informative in terms of nature and very descriptive, bringing to life a swamp, bringing to life marshes that are in North Carolina. Not only does she bring marshes, the character that we follow and feel deep feelings with is a girl that is almost made out of the marsh. This book follows the storyline of Kea, a girl who is born into very unfortunate circumstances and wheels herself out of them. Her name is Kea, and she's often referred to as the Marsh Girl. In the beginning of the book, her whole family deserts her in stages, and Kea is left to fend for herself in the wild terrains of the marsh. And Kea is left to fend for herself when her family deserts her. Kea had an upbringing in this marsh, and we realize from the start that this marsh is known to her like the back of her hand. She uses this knowledge to evade authorities and to survive from the age of 10 all alone. Kea is a character in this book who is dealing with a lot of abandonment issues throughout the novel. And the marsh becomes a safe haven for her to deal with all the disappointments throughout her life. Along with Kea, we also follow 2 men from their adolescence up until the end of the book, and specifically their importance is the role they play in her life. This book in the end culminates with a trial and how Kea and the 2 men influence where this trial goes. The leading up to the trial is a separate storyline. But the beauty of Delia Owens' writing is the fact that she never strays far from Kea. Sorry for the butchering of the name, Kea. I'm sure you're going to be all flipped out, but just know that it's the same character. What appealed to me about this book and why I would recommend it to everybody, because the imagery in here and the way Delia Owens can construct a landscape is just phenomenal. This person definitely knows how to write landscapes and evolve life out of nature. The marsh here, which is the backdrop of our story, literally comes to life through characters' actions, through characters' interests. It shapes the story, and it's always got a hold of it. And I just love when an author can bring to life not only her characters, which she does very eloquently here, and just grips you from the start and never lets you go, but also an author who can bring sort of the natural environment the story takes place in to life. I find it not often done, and the authors that do it well definitely know how to grip you, because it makes the experience that much better. And I guess the first part ties into the second part, because I was going to say that another thing that I loved about this book is how it gripped me and never let me go. I will mention a little sidetrack here from the review, but I saw this on Big Books and Hard Classics, a great channel run by Alan, and he reviewed this book and boldly said that this is a top book that he's read in 5 years. So I went on a road trip, as I mentioned before, and I decided to give Audible a try. I have never in my life listened to a book on audio, and so I was so captivated by this book that driving home for 10 plus hours, I believe I still had 2 hours left upon returning home, and I just literally wanted to do circles around my house and not stop till it got to the end. Another thing is that this is one of the only books that I have ever cried, well, not cried. Basically, I was driving and I was scared to stop at a rest stop or anywhere else because I was in fear of just coming out with tears, that people will come to me and be like, what's wrong? So I had to hold in my bladder passing rest stops as this book played through my speakers. That's how good it was. By the way, as a side note, is it really crying when your eyes fill up and you go like this and then a tear comes out or some liquid? I don't know, because I've never cried in a book, so I'm just wondering, is that considered crying? Okay, back to the book. So as I was saying, this is a very, very captivating, and it just sucks you in from the start and never lets you go. The story here flows beautifully. You're always involved. You're always interested in the outcome of characters. There's many different side stories that keep this story going without it feeling like you're stuck in the middle of a book. I guess what I'm trying to say is that along with the development of the story and as we move forward, there's plenty of side action to keep you always involved, and therefore the information comes across as bits by bits, and before you realize it, you're at the end of the book and going, holy shit. I do think that if people gave this a shot, they would be drawn in immediately. However, looking back now that I'm 2 weeks removed from this book, I feel like this book can come across as being a bit too sentimental. She definitely draws on the heartstrings here. So if you're a person who doesn't want their heartstrings tugged at, this might not be the book for you. But if you're somebody who loves a captivating story that takes you for an amazing ride, I think this would be right up your alley. It's not very difficult to read. I mean, the language here is pretty simple. I think it's more of a contemporary, novel. But there's enough here about nature. There's enough sophistication here to call this a literary fiction book, even though it reads like a summer read. And then you could really tell I love this book because I've listened to it twice already on Audible, and I went on Amazon and got myself a signed copy. Yeah, this book scored pretty high on my rankings, a definite 5. A book that I would like to keep with me forever, and a book that I'm looking to buy for a couple of people and share it with them. One of the most touching and full of goodness books I've read in a while. So yeah, if you haven't picked this up yet, you should. But considering that it sold over 1 million copies already, you probably have. Thanks for watching my review. I hope everybody has a great weekend, is enjoying their summer, and stay tuned for the next video. Subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. Again, thanks and good day.